Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, back with another episode for the Biome Generator for my world building toolkit. So now we are going to be going over this Biome Core data asset. Uh, this information that's right here is simply if you use Biome Core, you had to come down to PCG and then you would open this up and there'd be parameter overrides. I've removed those because they're no longer needed because we use everything directly in the parent so that we don't have to dive into things. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up so that we can see things that are going on here. So right now, as it stands, all of this is global. Some of this I want to make per actor set, but for now, it's going to stay that way as I figure out and decide how it's going to work. So this biome blend range, there's actually a perfect example of it here. Oh, went to the water there. This tree should not be on this cliff because it should only be showing up on the beach. And the reason that it's showing up on the cliff is because the biome range 1000. So 1000 Unreal units is how far it can go outside of this biome. And that's what it chose to do. Now, an obvious other issue is the fact that it's on a cliff, something I'm going to be taking care of in a future video, this week's iterations, to make sure that things don't spawn on cliffs that shouldn't. So that is just the example of that. For the biome cache cell size, if you display the biome cache, if you check mark it, I'm not going to because it's going to bog down my system while it does everything for you, and I don't want it to mess with the audio or the video while I'm recording. A bunch of big black boxes and other colored boxes are going to be placed on your landscape. And the color is actually dependent on what biome it is. It's black if there's nothing there. And if it's a specific biome that's been defined, then it'll take the color of that biome. And that is something that I'll explain in a little bit better detail in future videos when we go over the specific biomes. It's important to note that this biome cache cell size is critical to have at an appropriate size for your level. So this by default is 800 by 800 by 1600. If your landscape open world is too large, then nothing will load. PCG will show that it's doing calculations, but nothing is going to load. Simply because there's just too much data. Or the cell size, there's too many biome cache cells, is what I'll say. There's just not too much data. However, on a 4K map, I'm currently on a 2K one, 1200 by 1200 by 3000 worked just fine. Anything lower than that on the 3000 or these 1200s, it stopped working as it should. So on a 4K map, this size works. On an 8K, you would definitely need to go higher than that. But on 4K biome generator sizes, this will work just fine. Max child asset depth and child input points rate multiplier. That is something that I want to make per set of assets, because right now that's determining every child for all the children that we decide to have per index within the biomes, and that's something I want to fix. And then I haven't messed with anything runtime, but I do understand that this stuff does work. So essentially when you hit play, other assets will populate. So as an example, you could have a bunch of grass, which isn't recommended in this version of PCG. And then you could have runtime grass that is more interactive with the player, that populates only around the player. And that's a feature that you could utilize for this. So the next three things are graphs. The texture projection instance, which is how Biome Core decides where each biome is. And then the root point and child point filters, these can be the same or different. For me, right now, I have them identical. And we will go over each of these in a future episode. One thing I will say is right now the biome texture projection instance is the only way to place biomes specifically. However, in future versions, I will have the option for you to choose the biomes based off of physical material or by the landscape paint layer. That way, everyone has an option of how they choose to do it. Just note that I have provided a very easy way, no matter what you choose to do, to create the color map based off of what is currently here for those who do want to utilize that option, and that will be gone over in the next episode. So lastly, we have the debug, which displays the biome cache and then bypass global filters. So if you're like, why isn't this biome showing? You can check mark the bypass global filters, and then if the biome does show, then you know that one of these filters is messing with the generation, and then you'll need to go into those and figure out which one it is. Again, something we'll go over in another episode.